Yo, what's going on, guys? It's time for another reaction video. And this one is coming from the YouTube channel Insider Business. So if you like this video, do go check out Insider Business if you want to see more from them. This one is how one giant meat warehouse supplies Shake Shack and top steakhouses. This one caught my eye. I saw it just on my homepage the other day of my YouTube. And I love Shake Shack burgers, man. I think they're really good. So it caught my interest and made me want to check this one out. And I figured, hey, this might be something different to react to from some of the stuff I typically do. So yeah, let's check this out and see what it's all about.
This is where some of America's best restaurants get their steak. Pat LaFrida Meat Purveyors supplies thousands of restaurants from New York to Las Vegas. It has the largest dry aging room in the world.
Wow.
One family has run this business for over a century, and Pat is the third generation.
Look at all that freaking meat, dude. Is that just like a giant cooler? I'm guessing so, because he looks like he's dressed warm. But that's crazy, man. That's like a whole lot of freaking meat.
Owner.
Right now, there's well over $10 million of meat in here.
$10 million of beef. He said meat, but I'm assuming it's mostly beef since they said steaks and Shake Shack. So
He brought in a whole new approach to the business, selling high-end meat to both fancy restaurants, but also to burger chains like Shake Shack. Pat's team produces 250,000 pounds of meat every night.
I shouldn't be watching this while I'm hungry. I'm like, I had the dilemma of sit down and film for about 2 hours and do some reaction videos, or eat first. And I knew that if I ate first, I'd be too lazy and tired to film. So I said, you know what, I'll eat afterward. And watching this right now, knowing that I'm hungry, is gonna make it that much harder to get through this video. But man, the steaks that they're showing already is making my stomach growl.
It's kind of like Jenga, where you're moving one piece and another piece comes in. It takes years to develop an army like we have.
Their weapons: butcher's knives, bandsaws, and meat grinders. So how does Pat LaFrida manage to supply everything from $3 smash burgers to $200 steaks? And how did he turn
A freaking $200 steak. Where are you eating a $200 steak?
smash burgers to $200 steaks? And how did he turn a humble butcher shop into a $270 million meat empire? Pat only buys prime and choice beef, the highest USDA grades. These cuts have the most marbling, which adds flavor. So how does all this pricey steak get to kitchens?
Chefs normally know what they want to order or what they need to order after that dinner serving. And then they really want the product delivered the next morning, a few hours later.
That's why shifts here start around 6 p.m. And then it's a race against the clock.
So I'm wondering if he only is buying mostly premium cut meat, if that means that the meat that has been turned into patties for Shake Shack is a more premium level of beef than maybe what some other fast food chains and restaurants and stuff might be using for their burgers.
Some kitchens need these steaks by the following morning.
The only way to work through the night is to have cohesion. As a former military guy myself, building that team, it takes time.
Many steaks start in this dry aging room, which holds 15,000 of Pat's finest cuts.
Man.
It has to stay at 36 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity. Otherwise, everything will spoil or freeze, and Pat could lose millions.
I wonder how much redundancy and backup systems there are for power outages. Like how much of a battery surplus do they have for this building in case there was a power outage, and how long can they last on that backup power? I bet you that probably costs an arm and a leg on its own. I wonder if they'll even go into that in this video, but I imagine he has to have some sort of backup for that.
As the meat ages, moisture evaporates and muscles break down.
But we know that the dry aging process is working when we see that the protein has sunken in from the bone and the fat.
Workers wheel the meat to the portioning section. Master butchers go to work on everything from tomahawk steaks to New York strips.
Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you might have seen recently I did a few reactions to some Jolly content. And they were here in my area. They were here in Houston, Texas, at the Taste of Texas restaurant, and they had a big old tomahawk steak, and that thing looked tasty. It makes me wonder if the steaks are coming from the same place.
Slicing them exactly the way each restaurant wants. Pat trained most of these butchers himself.
The ones you made this morning were beautiful. Oh, yeah. There really are no butcher schools. Restaurants will ask me, Pat, where do you get your butchers from? I'm like, we don't get our butchers, we make our butchers.
They only need a few tools to get the job done.
In most people's hands, you're gonna see boning knives. With this, you could basically do the whole job until you get to cutting the steak across, and that's where you want a scimitar knife. And what makes this a butcher knife as opposed to a chef's knife? We have a protective corner.
But certain cuts require using a bandsaw. It's ideal for slicing through bone or doing high volume orders as fast as possible. And only master butchers can operate them.
It's probably a good 2.5 years before they would even get to a bandsaw.
I imagine from a safety standpoint, you need 2.5 years, because if you do that wrong, you're taking off a finger, a part of your hand, or what have you. What I'm curious to know is a lot of these little pieces and these extras that they are cutting off. I wonder what they do with that. I wonder if it's turned into something for like pet food, or if they're able to get enough meat off of those little bone shavings and turn it into something else. If it just goes into a landfill, be curious to know what happens with that extra bits that they cut off.
Next, workers load everything onto trucks. If a customer is local, Pat's team can deliver within a few hours. The Press Club Grill in New York City gets thousands of pounds of meat from La Frida per week. Owner and chef Franklin Becker showed us how he prepares a boneless ribeye.
This is probably one of those places that has the $200 steak.
Yeah, I try to season it fairly aggressively, okay, and let all that salt kind of penetrate into the pores of the meat. And then I'm going on to an infrared broiler. This steak doesn't take long. It's pretty quick.
In just 5 to 6 minutes, you'll get a juicy medium rare.
So you see that fat starting to caramelize, okay? If you let it rest, then the meat's gonna kind of reabsorb all those juices. And when you slice it, there's gonna be nothing left really on the board. That's when a steak is perfectly rested. That's when you know that you've cooked it right.
Looks
One
tasty.
of the most legendary steakhouses in New York City, Peter Luger, has been sourcing meat cuts from La Frida since 1998.
Peter Luger has garnered its reputation as a New York City institution, frankly, due to a lot of hard work. And I think it starts with our attention to detail in selecting each piece of meat that comes into this restaurant. We're really about letting the highest quality steak we can buy shine with just a little salt and a tiny bit of butter. We cook the steak to order and we send it out sizzling hot to the guests. And that's it.
But La Frida
It looks so freaking good. I'm hungry.
doesn't just supply fancy restaurants. Back in 2004, Pat bought the company's first burger machine to make patties for a new fast casual chain that was about to open, Shake Shack. Pat created a special blend without trimmings or added fat for the new chain. Shake Shack still uses Pat's recipes today, and La Frida still supplies patties for more than 100 of its locations. Every burger starts on the main floor. 2,000 pounds of Angus beef are dumped onto conveyor belts. Machines spray them with diluted vinegar that kills potential germs. Other machines grind and mix the meat. The ground meat goes into patty forming machines which can make 200 different blends. Workers need to move fast. The company pumps out over 200,000 burgers a day.
Gets pretty
200,000 a day. Damn. We eat a lot of freaking food in America. We eat a lot of burgers in America too. 200,000. So that's primarily for just Shake Shack, it seems. I wonder, all the fast food chains and restaurant chains together, how many freaking burgers we eat a day in America.
hectic and frustrating sometimes when it gets overloaded, but every single day is just a different challenge.
Mel's Butcher Box in Tenafly, New Jersey is one of Pat's loyal customers. Owner Melanie Landano orders up to 100 pounds of burgers from him a day.
Melanie, if I ever get to visit New Jersey, I'm going to come into your Butcher Box and try a burger there, because if you're using the same patties and the same meat that they're using at Shake Shack, which I already love, I would love to see how you prepare it.
For the restaurant, we use the original Pat LaFrida blend, which is a short rib brisket blend. For special events, if a customer requests dry-aged brisket burgers, we get that. Some people request a 45-day dry-aged burger. Anything I want, Pat will make for us. Once we put it on the grill, we leave it on the grill. And a lot of people like to press on the meat, then all the juices come out. What I do, I flip it once, I leave it and let it cook, and then I let it rest here.
On top of her daily customers, Mel also cooks burgers for 4 local schools. On Monday morning alone, she grills over 200 patties for students.
Boy, if that's the kind of food that I got for school lunch, man, like, we didn't get anything like that. Our burgers were like soy burgers, probably, I think, from what I remember, and they were probably boiled patties. We didn't get nothing like this. What schools are they providing food to?
So today we're probably going to cook 5 or 6 cases in 1 hour. So it's Burger Palooza.
Wow. Props to
Mel
her for
also
being able to turn around that many meals through her restaurant.
In 1 hour. So it's Burger Palooza.
Mel also buys LaFrida's skirt steaks, ribeye cheesesteaks, and meatballs.
Here's our LaFrida meatballs. This is going with this penne and meatball. Just heating up. This is his grandfather's recipe, and they're delicious. I'm Italian, so I don't use any other meatball but Pat LaFrida meatball, if I have no time to make my own. So.
Family recipes are still an important part of LaFrida's. Pat's great-grandfather opened a Brooklyn butcher shop in 1922. After moving the operation to Manhattan's growing meatpacking district, Pat's grandfather took over and started Pat LaFrida Meat Purveyors. Pat started learning the job as a child.
My favorite times were cutting meat with my grandfather to my left and my dad to my right.
But Pat's father insisted his son try a different career first.
He didn't want me to work those hours. He didn't want me in that environment.
Pat spent 9 months working as a stockbroker, but then ditched that job to join the family business. A decade later, Pat would be named CEO.
Makes you wonder where the company would be today had he not followed in his father and grandfather's steps, you know? Even though his dad wanted him to do a different line of work, maybe, you know, what he brought to the table is what made it into the size of the company and the value of the company it is today. So that being said, maybe the schooling he went to for a stockbroker helped to have a good business plan in place for what he's turned this company into.
And now my dad can't wait for my son to go off to college and come back and run the family business.
When Pat joined in 1994, the company had 44 restaurant customers. Now, they have 1,600 and are...
Holy crap, 44 to 1,600. That's not like a 10,000% increase or something?
posting annual sales of $270 million.
We are several hundred times larger than we were.
Yeah.
In 2021, Pat opened this new $20 million facility.
Wow.
To keep such a massive operation running, Pat has to be more than a manager, though.
He does everything. He comes, works in production, he works with us, he goes on the table, he goes to see customers, he oversees everything.
It's something I love to do, and I do a lot of my best thinking while I'm cutting meat. To me, it's a relaxing time.
Even after this much growth, Pat thinks there's room for more.
This facility produces about 250,000 pounds of product a night, and with the capacity to probably triple or quadruple that.
Wow.
So we built it with the space to be able to expand from there.
That's amazing, man. It's like we never think about this stuff on the back end when we sit down at a restaurant to eat. The whole business part of it on the backside. Where is the food coming from? How many people does it take to process that food, ship that food, pack that food? There's so many moving parts, but all we think about is like getting that menu out and ordering, and how quickly can you get the food to my table. There's a whole other piece of the spectrum ahead of that, and even before what it gets to him, you know, there's the whole farming side of it, right? So we're seeing it once he's received the meat, processed the meat to dry age it, but we haven't seen, you know, like, which I don't care to see though, is the slaughterhouse, or even just the farming side of it, of them raising the cattle and then taking the cattle and then processing the cattle. Wow. So there's just so many pieces to the puzzle that we often probably take for granted. So this was really cool though. I really liked it. If you guys have suggestions on other things like this that I should react to, please let me know in the comments. If you've got links to videos, provide them. And I'll start checking some of that stuff out if you guys like this type of a content. If you're new here and you want to see more from me, please subscribe, click the bell so you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. Stick around to the end of this video. There will be some playlists of some other content that I do if you want to check out some other reactions. And yeah, let's wrap it up here, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.